Hey guys, welcome back to another Gaming Memories video. Here we are taking a look at a game called Team Losi RC Racer, or was quite simply known as in Europe as just Buggy. So this is essentially just like kind of like an RC racer style game, and it kind of uses or tries to use the same kind of format as a lot of kind of like cutesy style kind of like racing games from back in that era, similar to the likes of the Mario Kart games if you've ever played them, likes of even on Nintendo and so forth, even likes of Crash Team Racing. So this game was released in 1998 and it was developed and published by both Gremlin Interactive and Fox Interactive. Now the game itself did actually get a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of magazines, they weren't really too fond of this game. Like, it does have nice graphics and it does have a nice colourful style, but the game is very tough and it actually does, it's very hard to kind of grasp the controls of the game, because even though the levels are aesthetically, they're well laid out and they're colourful, but the problem I found from playing the game, even myself, is that even though it kind of, a lot of the races you're kind of like in an off-road kind of setting, the downside is the controls can be that fiddly that you're just bouncing around all over the place. You never feel like as if you're actually planted on the ground when you're actually driving the RC car. You just feel like as if you're just kind of just bouncing around, like as if you're like a ping pong ball. And that'd be my main gripe with the game. Now, the game's not bad for what it is. It is a bit fiddly. So you go through like the arcade and the campaigns. Now you don't directly, it's like as you can see here, you don't just go directly into the race from the options menu. You're tasked with actually having to go around through like a mini kind of world and try to look for the levels to actually get involved with. This can be a little bit fiddly because it be, especially depending on the modes that you choose, it's hard to know really kind of where to go. So you can be driving around for a while when all you want to do is just simply just get into a race. So that can actually kind of leave you kind of getting a bit annoyed and you nearly want to quit the game before you've actually got started. I find that there is quite a few games like on the PlayStation back in the day as well, they're like this, that the options menus and the way that they present to get you to actually access the game, they're not as straightforward as they probably should have been. I can understand the developers were trying to do all these fun quirky ideas because obviously they wanted to try something different, and that's cool. But again, simplicity is definitely, I think, a key factor for a game to really be successful. Like, the advanced things, keep them advanced, but the simple things like of options menus and things that people need to access easily, I think that they definitely should be kept as simple as possible. And that's definitely not the case with this game. Now, I actually haven't played it. When you go through certain levels, it does take and you do need a bit of skill, I will admit, to try and master some of the levels. But what can happen to you is that the control system of the game, because it is very twitchy, you can literally be winning a race and then you could lose all your progress literally in an instant because you could hit a barrier or a wall, and it can be very fiddly. Or you can hit a bad piece of like a patch of road or something, and it can lead you to actually just completely just losing track of actually where you are. So that can definitely hinder your progress. Now, it's definitely not the greatest racing game on the PlayStation, definitely not, but it is worth the playthrough. There are actually quite a few actually RC type of games on the PlayStation. I will actually be covering more of them in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for them. And they kind of vary too, from good to probably not so good to some of them that are actually really good. But again, they're all, from what I have seen of them and played of them, they're actually quite difficult, and this is no different to get into. But it is what it is. That's the thing with a lot of these games back in the day from those periods of time. Developers, what they were trying to do is they were trying to experiment and try different ideas because they wanted their games to be different, to stand out from what everyone else was doing. Because what actually does happen, and you see it with more mainstream type of games nowadays, you find a lot of developers, even everyone, wants to find something that works, everybody tries to jump on the bandwagon and tries to do the same thing, which primarily that's the way to go because that's where the money is and that's what makes the sales. But it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's good. But then you have, on the other hand, where you have developers like here where they actually did try to do something completely different from the start, And the ideas like were good, but they just weren't executed as well as they could have been. And I think that's just down to just experience. And you have to allow yourself for these things to happen, and that's just part and part of with these type of games. And you still see that even today with a lot of development companies where they're trying different things. Probably not as much as they would have done back then, considering like with the PlayStation, which I always do say in the videos, is one of the reasons why I love the console so much, is because developers weren't really afraid to try new things. Some of the greatest games that were ever on the system were games that nobody would ever think of actually buying, that are actually kind of went under the radar because there was things in them that just you wouldn't see anywhere else. They were actually way ahead of their time. And there's definitely a lot of games on the system that proves that. And a lot of them, if done well, they're actually excellent games. Some of the times, like so in this case, it's not executed as well, but that's not to say that it's an out and out bad game. It is playable, it's just as difficult, and it's hard to get a feel for everything that's going on, because like as you can see here, it's hard to kind of maintain the stability and the controls of the actual vehicle you're in, because you're just all over the place. You can never really maintain yourself in the ground for long enough to actually gain control of the car, because you're just bouncing around so much. But that's just the reality of a lot of these games. But it is what you make of it, really, at the end of the day. Like, you're going to get good experiences and bad experiences with games, but at the end of the day, the way I see it is, even if a game isn't so great, I'll still give it a go anyway. And I've always been found that, and I used to always get wound up, and my brothers would always wind me up over it for years, because they'd say, oh, that he just plays just any type of game. Because if a game was presented to me and I had an opportunity to play it, I wanted to give it a go, even if I didn't like it. But I would be honest, I would be stubborn. I wouldn't let it get the better of me. I'd always still try to get something out of it. Even if it did get the better of me, I'd still try to make sure that I got something, or at least try to get far enough in it that at least I could try and enjoy it to some degree. And more often than not, I usually did, because I was willing to play through to a point where most people would have given up. So I realised that I think that's how I got most of enjoyment out of games, because I was willing to see through all the little niggles and just to kind of walk past it. And I actually found a lot of fun games by doing that. So even if this game isn't for you, I'd highly recommend that you at least just give these type of games a try, just to kind of see what they're like, and just experience like just the history and the different types of games that were on the PlayStation and what it had to offer. There's some fantastic games, and there is also some other kind of less good games, but they're still all worth the playthrough in my opinion. So I definitely wouldn't knock it on the head for trying these old games, especially if you're into your classic games. So what are your thoughts on this game if you've played it back in the day? I'd love to hear your opinions on it, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be updated whenever I release future content, and also feel free to share the video, as I am going to be exploring a lot more of these older quirky games on the PlayStation and sharing my thoughts and experiences with everyone. So as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.